Gabriel Martinelli has been on fire this season. He's scored 4 and assisted 2. He's completed the most triples in the Premier League, and on Sunday, he tore Liverpool apart. So at 21 years of age, his potential is frightening, and Arsenal know they need to keep him. So let's get an update today on his new potential contract. Also, why have the FA opened up an investigation involving Gabriel Magalhaes? What's happening with Alexander Zinchenko? And let's get all of the latest Arsenal transfer news. Yo, what is going on guys? My name is Babs14 and welcome back to your boys channel. I hope you are doing sensational as always, and as per, make sure to go down there, show your support by smashing a like on the content if you enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. But let's start off with the breaking Arsenal news. Now, Arsenal centre-back Gabriel Magalhaes was heavily involved in the game against Liverpool, but the key talking point after the game was the flare-up involving him and Liverpool midfielder Gabriel Henderson. It all kicked off and every fan was wondering what exactly happened. Well, since the game, according to Sammy Mockbell of the Daily Mail, the FA have opened a probe after the Henderson-Gabriel incident, and the Brazilian, who is relaxed by the matter, has complained he heard something on the pitch which triggered the angry confrontation. Since the game, fans have speculated a lot, and they've seen photos of Firmino, of Alisson, of Klopp, and how they reacted to when they were told what happened. But until we have categorically been told what was said, as fans that have not heard what actually happened, we cannot jump to conclusions. But this is now an open investigation, and I believe we will get an update in the next few days. And if Gabriel Henderson has said something very stupid, then I am pretty sure things are gonna go down. William Saliba says, "I had an Arsenal shirt when I was 7 or 8 years old. I love watching Arsenal. I had Henry on the back. He was the one that I looked up to the most. I love watching him. Arsene Wenger was the manager, so there was a lot of French connections." Most Arsenal fans have seen the photo of a young Saliba in an Arsenal shirt, and there is no secret and there is no denying that Saliba has always been a fan of our gargantuan institution. Look at some of the great Arsenal players: Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires. Arsenal have had a massive impact in France, and even though they aren't a French club, are definitely one of the most supported teams in the country. Saliba says this is a special club. You know, when Arsenal is interested in you, you are going to be very happy. There was no decision to make. You don't need to make a reflection. It was an easy choice. As soon as I knew Arsenal wanted me, I wanted to come here. As Raul Salehi once said, when Arsenal knock, it is a different knock. Saliba was an in-demand prospect, and one of the other teams that tried to sign him alongside Arsenal was Tottenham Hotspur. But when you have the heritage of Arsenal Football Club and the history of the Tottenham, it was always going to be a very obvious choice. And most importantly, Saliba says, "Yes, now I want to win everything. I want to help the club to come back to the very top. I will give everything for this club to help us get back there." Saliba has long-term ambitions at Arsenal. He has the Premier League and the Champions League in his sights. All of these quotes are indicating a player that sees his future at Arsenal Football Club, and that means in terms of any long-term contracts, as I have always said, it's more a matter of when and not if. According to Bruno Andrade, Arsenal want to renew Gabriel Martinelli's contract until 2028, with the first conversations having already started, and there is optimism on both sides of an agreement. So a very reliable Brazilian source has spoken. Now, Martinelli's current contract expires in 2024, but in that contract Arsenal have inserted an automatic option to extend by 1 year. So he still technically has 3 years left on his contract, but Arsenal clearly understand that with the way he's playing, his potential, his age and his wages, it's very important to give him what he deserves so that he feels appreciated, and taking it to 2028 ensures 6 more years at the Emirates Stadium. But what about the player himself? What has he been saying? He says, "I want to stay at Arsenal, of course. We are talking about a new deal. So let's see what is going to happen, but I want to stay at Arsenal." There's no hinting here or dilly-dallying. He's clear, he's precise, he's direct, and he confirms his desire to stay at the Emirates Stadium. It's exactly what Arsenal fans want to hear. And Fabrizio Romano confirms that Arsenal are already in direct negotiations to extend Gabriel Martinelli's contract. Talks have been ongoing for weeks. Arsenal feel it's the same with Bukayo Saka. He loves the club, while talks over a new deal are ongoing since February. Arsenal realise in terms of wide forward pairings, you've had Sané and Sterling at Man City, you've had Salah and Mane at Liverpool, but in Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka, both under the age of 21. Crazy potential, and there's no reason why they can't become the next best wide forward pairing in the Premier League. But in terms of the present, when Gabriel Martinelli was asked on whether the title is something that Arsenal dream about, he says, yeah, of course we dream about it, but we leave talking about it to the fans. We only think about the next game and trying to win. I think you guys can see from outside our hunger and our mentality. For Arsenal to achieve big, we have to dream big. But in terms of the hunger and the mentality, you can see it on the pitch. The way that Arsenal are pressing teams, the way that Arsenal are so aggressive with the ball, and Arsenal have now been able to dominate most of the teams they have faced so far this season. And mentality is the key word, because if you want to win titles, we have to become mentality monsters. Moving on to a fitness update on Alexander Zinchenko. As Arteta says, he has another muscle injury, and let's see how it evolves in the next few days. It's getting a bit concerning now, because if you look at Zinchenko's career at Man City, he missed quite a few games down to muscular injuries, and during his time at Arsenal, it's that calf area that keeps on getting injured. But what's very important now is how exactly Arsenal find resolutions. Is this something that requires a surgery, or is it something that Arsenal are just going to manage? It doesn't sound like a massive injury, but in terms of returns, Mikel Arteta has not given any potential timescale. But in Zinchenko's absence against Liverpool, despite having a fully fit Kieran Tierney, Mikel Arteta instead started Takehiro Tomiyasu, and it was initially a surprise, but tactically it became a masterclass, and it gave Arsenal an advantage in terms of defending Mo Salah. But in terms of why Tomiyasu has not been starting on the right hand side, it's all because of Benny Blanco, Benjamin White. And according to Simon Collins, when Arteta approached Ben White in the summer about switching to right back, he accepted the challenge and backed himself to be a success. The Arsenal coaching staff had no doubt about White performing at right back, and since his confidence is growing on a near weekly basis. Game by game, what we are seeing Ben White do is evolve further as a right back. And the last few games, especially in the game against Liverpool, he's clearly becoming more and more comfortable and confident going forwards, and him overlapping is giving Bukayo Saka so much more space. He's also surprisingly shown that he can be very decisive in the final third, and he epitomizes Ben White's biggest strength as a player, his ability to learn, and why Mikel Arteta trusts him so much. And I truly believe he might be Arsenal's most underrated player. Moving on to the latest Arsenal transfer news, and starting off in Belgium and Club Brugge. According to Sport Witness via Mediafoot, Arsenal have a crush on Club Brugge forward Ferran Jutla, and have positioned themselves to follow him for the rest of the season. Then, depending on his progression, he could quickly become a target for the next summer transfer window. Jutla is a 23-year-old Spanish forward who was signed by Barcelona in 2021, then scored 19 goals for Barcelona B in the Segunda Division, and then he was quickly snapped up by Club Brugge for €5 million. And since going to Belgium, he has 13 goals and assists in 14 appearances, and most importantly in the Champions League, he's got 4 goals and assists in just 3 appearances, and in his last game against Atletico Madrid, he was the Champions League man of the match. He's clearly a forward that is burst onto the scene, and at 23 years of age is at that perfect age where he is soon entering his peak years but has already a decent amount of experience. And he was very highly rated during his time at Barcelona, so much so that Barca inserted a 10% sell-on clause in his Club Brugge contract. So maybe Arsenal are trying to be ahead of the curve here and realise that if they want to sign him, the sooner you sign him, the cheaper you're going to get him for. According to Goal Brazil, Arsenal are keeping tabs on Corinthian centre-back Robert Renan. Not only has Edu worked at the Brazilian club before, but both clubs have a good relationship since the Willian deal. He's only recently turned 19 years of age, and he is seen as a standout Brazil centre-back in their next generation. But where he excels the most is on the ball, and the most important factor is he's left-footed. If you look into the world of football, there's a clear shortage of top ball-playing centre-backs that are left-footed. You've got the likes of Laporte, Kempembe, and Arsenal of course have Gabriel Martinelli, players, but he still requires quite a bit of improvement. But in the Arsenal squad past Gabriel, we don't have any other top left-footed centre-backs, and therefore Renan becomes a very interesting prospect. But with that potential, he's a player that is very much in demand, with the likes of Chelsea, Borussia Dortmund, and even Wolves trying to sign the player. In fact, in terms of Wolves, they actually tried to sign him in the last summer for £10 million, but they failed. Corinthians are only going to increase the price, so this might be a thing where Edu Gaspar has to come in clutch, and his contacts in Brazil might have to play a part. But talking of top players out of Brazil, you've got Gabriel Jesus, who is the only player in Europe's top 5 leagues this season with 10 plus shots on target, 10 plus chances created, 10 plus tackles made, 10 plus take-ons completed, and 10 plus aerial duels won. The definition of a complete centre forward, and what Jesus has done has raised the level of his Arsenal team. His performance against Liverpool was the epitome of what Jesus is, and even though he didn't score or get an assist, he was still able to impact the game massively, and his hold-up play brought the best out of the likes of Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. But in terms of scoring goals, Jesus says, "I want to score 30 goals in the season." There was a lot of talk about Jesus during his time at Man City of what exactly was he? Is he a centre forward? Is he better out wide? But the moment he entered Arsenal Football Club in his first ever interview, he said straight away, "I want to be a number 9. But he is scoring goals on a very consistent basis, and Arsenal certainly have the creativity to provide it. In fact, in terms of players with the most shot creating actions in the Premier League this season, top is Kevin De Bruyne, but in terms of 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th is Martinelli, Saka, Jesus and Xhaka. Mikel Arteta's attack is exploding, and going forwards we are more dangerous than ever. And the game against Liverpool was the prime example. Every time we entered the opposition box, it just felt like Arsenal were going to score. Moving on to Charlie Patino. As David Ornstein says, representatives from Arsenal were present to watch Charlie Patino play for Blackpool on Saturday. The 18-year-old is developing into a valued member of the Blackpool squad and is extremely popular among the colleagues, staff and fans. Charlie Patino finally has got past his injuries. He's starting week in week out, and for Blackpool he's thriving. Ornstein says Patino's current contract ends next summer, and while there is an option to extend by 2 years, that must be exercised prior to a set date in the months ahead. But Arsenal could look to reward him with fresh terms regardless of the clause, but talks are yet to begin. This might be a surprise to some people, but Charlie Patino's contract expires at the end of this season, but Arsenal rate Patino very highly. And playing in a 4-3-3 as a number 8, I believe he is the perfect profile going into the future, and that's why I'm not too concerned, because I know for a fact that Arsenal are going to extend his contract. Let's move on to the other Arsenal news today, and starting off with an Arsenal centre back in the Championship that has gone very much under the radar and is thriving on a game by game basis. As Arsenal loanee Austin Trusty played the full 90 minutes and scored 2 goals for Birmingham City. Austin Trusty is a USA centre back that Arsenal signed in January 2022 from the Colorado Rapids, and with that club being owned by the Cronkies, a lot of fans didn't take this transfer seriously, but Arsenal have loaned him to Birmingham City, and in the Championship he has been arguably their best player, and playing in a back three he's been amazing defensively in terms of winning duels. And it's very important to point out that Trusty is a left-footed centre back, so as Arsenal are trying to sign one, should Arsenal instead Trusty the process with Austin Trusty? Moving on to Jamie Carragher, who when asked to name his top 3 managers said, "I would say Klopp and Pep Guardiola. I think it will be a really sad day when both of those managers leave the Premier League. The other one, I was going through the league and I would say Mikel Arteta." Over the likes of Antonio Conte, Carragher believes that Arteta is the 3rd best manager in the Premier League. Not only is the hype growing, but more importantly, the narrative is also changing, and Arteta is starting to win people over. And even looking into the underlying numbers of expected points, Man City and Arsenal are pulling clear of the rest. Slowly but surely, Arsenal are establishing themselves as the next best team in the Premier League, and that result against Liverpool only further emphasises that. But in terms of Mikel Arteta, over the years a lot of fans have been doubtful and have not trusted the process. Now that Arsenal are top of the Premier League, the team is firing and the style of play is clear as day. I want to find out down below in the comments, to the fans that weren't believers in Mikel Arteta, has this season changed your opinion? But that's the video there and there, so hopefully you have enjoyed, and if you have, make sure to go down there to smash a like and subscribe if you are new. Make sure to follow your boy on all of his social medias, the links are down below in the description. But that was today's latest Arsenal news today, and next up is Bodo Glimt in the Europa League. Away from home it's not going to be easy, but Arsenal have the quality to go there and collect all 3 points. So I'll see you next time, take care and celebrate.